Blackballed. Blackballed. Blackballed.
What is up, everybody? My name is James D. Fiore, and this is Blackballed. Ever know those guys that have one of those resumes where you're like, this guy's either lying or he's had one of the most interesting lives ever? I knew a guy named Jay Russell. Jay Russell was one of the principal dancers at the National Ballet of Canada as a black dude, which was crazy enough. But he was also a rapper who used to pop lock while he rapped. And just like the night and day of those elements of his bio was always something that everyone was like, wait a second, you're a rapper and you pop lock while you rap and then you're a national ballet star? Yeah, that's right. My guest today, to me, would be in that universe where his background, and then I'll get to how we got to know each other a little bit later, but his background is so interesting and eclectic. And what I've been using on promos is describe him as follows, which is all true. He is an award-winning ad director. He did that for many years. He still does that. And he's worked for like big agencies and he's been independent. He's done all that, but he's done ads that you've seen, and we'll get to that later as well. He's also, it's weird when I call him a punk rock guy because he's not like a musician, but like his look and sort of the way he is like punk rock. Like, you know, he's got it. He looks cool. Like, you know, he's a cool looking guy. Good fashion sense, but very himself. Oh, and by the way, he's also an avid birder with tattoos all over his body that relate to being a birder. Yeah, that's right. And also, as I abruptly end my intro, he is such an enthusiast of the, what would you call it, like the birding, the birding lifestyle, that he made a movie. And we'll talk about the behind-the-scenes stuff with the movie in a second, but I'm going to play the trailer, and then I'm going to introduce him. So first we're going to watch, or listen, depending on where you are, this trailer. I love that song. I don't know who it is, but Paul will tell me because my guest today is Paul RISS. Paul, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. I appreciate you taking time out of your shared accommodation flat in Danforth area where this is how, but you know what the funny thing is that it sounds like I'm poking fun at your drapes. It really is just an indication that I know nothing about anything that looks good aesthetically.
Yeah, neither do I. My wife just put these here.
You always live in a house though that's like, you know, it's like a Tarantino character owns the house or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's all due to Rachel. I mean, she's like, I literally just live here, and I know it sounds like so dumbass
sitcom wife. It sounds like sitcom. Yeah,
it's not that at all. It's just that Rachel has an incredible ability to make a space look great and feel comfortable and interesting. And like our house, that we, you know, all the houses we've had are just it's like an ever evolving art piece of hers. And yeah, so that's the drape.
I say this with love, but she really is the half that props you up. Like,
100%.
yeah. We'll,
Yeah,
we'll get to her later.
People say that better half thing. It's like better and a half. I don't know if that makes sense.
It's not only a better half, but like you both have not just accepted, but have organically grown into the roles of she is the universe and you're one of her main planets, but not quite the universe, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I would agree.
yeah. But you're happily like that too. I love that. You guys are always we're always kind of like, that's the cool couple. That's the couple that's going to show the rest of us. And look at you now.
I always like people would always tell us that kind of shit, and I'm like, I have no idea how that happened for me. I don't know. I really would say that Rachel saved me. She returned me to my family. I was gone. I was out of it for a while. I was drinking a significant amount. Luckily, not enough to put me down the path of never having another drink again, because I was having a drink. But yeah, like I was lost. I was pretty lost.
Yeah. Yeah. That might be a good time to tell everybody that you're my ex-brother-in-law.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, should I just keep it professional and not say, no, fuck it. I'm going to eventually we have to get to that. So I've known you then since like 1994, right? Something like that.
Yeah. If I had a mind for numbers, I might be able to confirm that.
Yeah. And to me, I always really liked you. I always thought you were cool and far and away much better than any of the other boyfriends my sister had. Really. And we hit it off right quickly and then you married my sister. We became close and everything. I remember thinking like you were like if Keanu Reeves and folk singer Hayden had a bastard, you were kind of like that guy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I totally get it. And it's funny too, because I was married to your sister and that didn't work out, but that's fine. It is what it is. But like everybody says when I talk about you, because we've known each other a long time, and they're like, well, how do you know that guy? I'm like, oh, I used to be married to his sister. And they're like, what? You stayed in contact with her brother? I'm like, yeah.
Those people British? They're British people, right? That say that shit?
Just people.
Yeah.
And they're like kind of like talking about it as if it's weird. And I say, you know what? James and I got along. We became friends through my marriage to his sister. And just because my marriage to his sister didn't last does not mean that I have to I don't know. It's like everybody thought I should just, as I'm driving over the bridge, throw a cocktail behind me and just blow the shit up, right? It's like that
would have only made sense is if you like smacked my sister or something, and you know what I mean, like that would only apply to something like that. But the situation was a little bit different, and and we're not going to get into that. But it's interesting. We were talking off air earlier today about how sometimes the most oh my god, the darkest places that you can be in your life and how you got there ends up being that first domino to the rest of your life that is fucking amazing, and which is a really hard place to get to. It takes years, right?
Yeah, it really does. And people often say they ask me questions about when they find out that I've been married before Rachel, they're just like, what? There was somebody you thought was the right person for you that's not her? And I said, well, how would I know she was the perfect woman had I didn't know her? I never met her.
Yeah. You know what's a fun thought experiment is to imagine that you're propelled back to 1993. And the only way that you will ever secure Rachel and your kids again is if you go exactly as possible the life path you the first time around. So you'd have to court my sister and marry her the whole time knowing what's going to happen. You had to let it happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, I would do it.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily fun for your sister or me when we decided not to be together anymore. But I wouldn't change a thing. I'm strangely happy with my life for a creative person. Because, people are always saying we're damaged goods and all that kind of stuff. And, we are.
Well, you had good parents, though, which is everything, I think. It's everything, right?
Yes, I really did. And here's the story. I don't even know if I've told you this, but it's not bad, I don't think. But the night before I married your sister, the night before, I was at I was talking with my parents, and they said, "Are you sure? Be sure." And I said, "I think I'm sure." And they said, "Well, we're not sure." And I
Oh,
was like, "Oh, well, okay." Uh, and they said, "Well, what are you going to do if it doesn't work out?" And I just pointed at my dad because he had been married before my mom too.
oh,
And,
okay.
and so I just pointed at him and I said, "I'll do what he did. I'll find someone like you second up." And they were like, "Really? That's how you're going to go into a marriage?" And I
Well,
just said, "Yeah, but I'm going into it how I feel right now." And I
and
love
no offense to your parents, but the night before your wedding, they're like, "We don't know about her." It's like, thanks, mom and dad. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Hey, you could have like said like I did actually say it's too fucking late now. I'm not gonna like destroy some girl's life just because you guys aren't sure. Like it's not
yeah,
what
I'll
I'm gonna
wait for my turn. Thank you very much.
do. Yeah, exactly. But we won't get into it. Let's
No,
not get
no, no. It's fine. Well, someone's always got to be the one that leaves, right? Let's put it that way. You know, you're
yeah.
either the person that left or you're the person that got left, right? Like,
Listen, I would say that it was uh it was not good for me like the way it all went down. However, I am with much reflection now. I would say I was kind of a shitty husband.
yeah, you said that to me, and that it's interesting. It's probably true to a certain extent because I think we all kind of are, in a way, right? Like, you know, like the whole it's contagious the effort that one puts in or to the work of a marriage and how levels will kind of even out. So if one person's dragging behind a little bit, then the other person drags behind, it becomes stale and stuff. As soon as especially if you're a guy, you find yourself saying this a lot. What's wrong? Are you okay? It's already over, dude.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
it's gone.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that it was what it was, and it wasn't like I just would do it again. I
Yeah.
had a lot. Her and I had a lot of fun, but I will say this: um, I was not friends with your sister first. We met in school, in college, and we. It sounds so weird to say, but we fell in love, I guess. I just never.
She's also trying to find a way to not have to hang out with Jesse, I think. But go on.
That could be. I stayed friends with him too.
Yeah, I know.
Like I didn't have any problem with that. He was a weird little dude, but I
Yeah.
like weird. I
Really
like.
big arms for such a short little guy, eh?
Yeah, yeah,
That was
yeah.
odd. Did he inject himself or was that real shit? This kid
No,
was
no.
like, because I'm 5'6" and I towered over him, I felt like.
Yeah, he was tiny, but he was so into kung fu. He could kick my
Yeah.
ass, anybody's ass. He was
Yeah.
very high level kung fu. So like, I never would want to get into it with him. But I used to actually train with him. Like he was teaching me for a while, and
We were at a party once and he kept on trying to he kept on grabbing me and sort of like quickly jerking me, but not really moving me at all at the same time. And I was just like, what are you doing, dude? And I'm really ticklish on the sides. And so we kept on doing it there, but he wouldn't stop. And I looked at you. I remember I was like, what am I supposed to do here? I don't think I could beat him up, but I'm very pissed off right now, Paul.
Yeah, I would just like take my thing. If you're in a situation where you know you're not going to win the fight, shit on him.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Wow. That's brilliant. Or you could throw it at him. That's just as effective, right?
Totally. You just do something like you make yourself vomit or like you
Yeah.
just do something repulsive and then they'll leave you alone.
If you carry around a Gatorade jug of urine, you're laughing. Punch that guy. I'm not going to punch that guy. He's soaked in urine. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's good. We got that out of the way. That's good. So but I want to chronologicalize it a little bit because I find it really interesting, like sort of how it all developed. So professionally, though, and I'm going to play one of the things. What would you call it? Like part of your portfolio, your award-winning work. It's
If
quite
you're gonna
good.
play what I think you're gonna play, it's my career high, and it was like probably 13 years ago now.
If we were to set this up, would be I'd want to say just one thing. Because of your interest in art and music and things like that, which I think is a very kind of like, not like you're not an ideologue or anything, but you have a little bit of a buck the establishment kind of vibe to you, right? Like, you know, outside the box and all. And then you work literally in the devil's den, creating advertisements and commercials, right?
Yeah.
But
Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. No, I was going to say your personality type and the things that you like and the cool things that you like and that interest you, sort of like permeated in a great way in the ad world. And it reminds me of my friend Sheldon. He passed away last year. Rest in peace, Sheldon. Love you. And he was a guy that made hip hop beats. And he I can't remember who the artist, but it was like a Britney Spears kind of thing. He got the gig to like polish up an existing track and program beats. And the producer was like, "Don't make it too dirty, Sheldon. Okay, don't make it too gritty." And Sheldon was like, "No problem." And then he's like, "And then I found the dirtiest fucking drums I could find, and I did it." And the producer's like, "Perfect." Right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of like you with the ad world, like coming up with an unconventional idea and then and having the critics of the idea be like, "I don't think this is going to work," blah, blah, blah. And do you want to say anything before I show it? Because I love this. I love this spot.
Yeah, I would say I got to give a shout out to my writer partner Matt Antonello, who did this with me. Like, we worked together for 8 years, and we had so much fun doing what you're about to show. But I will say this, like, from a not solely because of this spot, but because of this one and a few others that some of my colleagues at DDB, the agency I worked at, when we first landed the account, that people will see the logo at the end, it's an automotive account, I assume. Is that correct?
You can say the name, Paul.
Okay, so it's a Subaru thing. And when we first started working on Subaru, they were selling roughly 15,000 cars a year in Canada. And by the time by the time I left the agency to go out on my own, they were selling 65,000 cars a year. Like, it really,
and
like,
it's a causation, not just a coincidence, like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I cannot like take sole credit, because there was another spot before this one. There's one after that was really good.
Take the credit. I'm giving it to you. You can't give it to yourself.
You do that, but
and people that are listening on Apple and Spotify and other platforms, if you wanted to look at the ad that we're talking about, I'll tell you what it is at the end. Go to YouTube/Blackballed with James DeFury and check it out there. So here, let's take a look at it. Forgot about the belly.
Fire in the gates of hell. Danger, danger. High voltage. When we touch and when we kiss. Danger, danger. High voltage. When we touch, when we kiss. When we touch, when we. Danger, danger. High voltage. When we touch.
Japanese SUVs just got a little sexier. Seeing the all-new 2009 Subaru Forester.
It's one of those ads where the execution has to be fucking flawless. So you're not like called like racially insensitive, stereotyping or anything. For those who were listening and didn't, I still think go to my but it's the ad that I know that you'll remember with the sumo wrestlers doing the car wash thing, and they're behaving exactly like sexy women would when they were doing the car wash thing, right? Yeah. And that juxtaposition and that kind of contrast, and you could only get away with it if that's men, for one thing, which is good. I like that.
That's what makes it good. That it's not.
Yes.
It's not the woman from Cool Hand Luke, but that was the reference.
Yeah, because you can't smack a woman's big old ass with a towel on a commercial, but you can to a sumo wrestler.
Yeah.
And I love those little kind of pockets of like exceptions. Do you know what I mean? Like where theoretically smacking someone's almost naked ass with a towel on an automotive commercial would be like, oh, obviously you can never do that no matter what. And Paul's like, hold my beer, because I think I found a way.
Yeah, and I should say that as much as when you see that and when I show it to people, and they're like, "Oh my God, how did you ever think of that?" And it's like, well, I'm not going to say it was easy. We had a lot of other ideas in and around this sexy thing, but um, that thing we just watched that seems like it's crazy and seems like it's way over the top and everything. It is not.
Yeah.
It is strategic. So the thing about Subaru when we started working on it was there was confusion because of those Paul Hogan commercials. Nobody knew it was Japanese, and we did a bunch of research beforehand, and we found out that people don't like people don't people don't want a car like that they don't know where it comes from, and maybe it's from Australia, I'm not sure. But what we did know was that Honda, Toyota are very popular cars, and they're Japanese made, and people trust a Japanese vehicle. Quality is built in, like that's just like price of entry. So
Yeah.
all we had to do was tell people it was a Japanese vehicle and tell them in a really engaging and memorable way, and that's how you get a bunch of sumo car wash thing. And
Were there ideas that like didn't make it, like eating sushi off sumos that are lying down and stuff on top of cars?
actually, we did a follow-up to that commercial because it was so popular. We were made to do a follow-up, which is like,
Uh oh, the sequel.
yeah, it's almost the kiss of death, right? But it actually worked out pretty good. We used a Peaches. I was like very adamant about a Peaches song because I needed it to have that punch and all that kind of stuff. But it's like in that one, we actually have a woman feeding a sumo wrestler. Like I think the line for it was "Sexy comes standard," and we just had people in their Subarus, but every single time it came with a sumo wrestler whenever you got one. So there was like one
Yeah.
moment where a woman was at a market at the her Subaru was parked in front of the market, and she was buying strawberries, and there's a sumo wrestler on the thing, and she reaches over and feeds him a little strawberry. So there was
Just all subtle, like. And he
yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
just
"Hmm,
like she
thank
turns
you."
and goes like that, and he takes a bite, and there's another scene where there's a couple sitting on the beach in Vancouver, looking out at the ocean, but their view is blocked because there's a massive sumo wrestler sitting on the windshield. It's just a giant bum.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, it was also fun.
That must have been fun to brainstorm though. Like, what can we get away with? Like, could you do a close up of sumo boobs with women hands on them, and then as you pan out, you realize it's not women's breasts? Like, would you be able to do?
Yeah, maybe. I think,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we also had this other idea that I thought was really fun, and so did my partner. And it was like this whole deer in the headlights thing. When you're driving, and Subarus are outdoorsy vehicles, so it's natural to get a deer caught in the headlights. And so it was a deer in the headlights moment. But then in that moment, the deer falls madly in love with the vehicle, and eventually it ended up around by the tailpipe. Like,
Are you serious?
oh yeah, yeah. We never made it. Like we didn't even present it. It was too much.
There's a European car ad. I don't know if you remember this, where the woman like parks the car, she takes off her skirt, and then she puts her hair back, and then she starts giving head to the stick shift, and that's the whole ad. And then it fades out, and then the car company comes on. I was just like, okay, that is kind of dope. I can't tell why Europe is allowed to get away with these things.
Well, maybe they're a little bit less sexually repressed than us.
Is that what it is? Because it feels like now that pornography's everywhere, they're not really all that repressed anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
That commercial was probably a long time ago. However, you
Yeah.
still could not do that commercial in Canada.
So you all, I want so you did the ad thing for a long time, and you were really good at it. You won a lot. You've done a lot of ads that a lot of people have seen, but I also know that like during that time, you spent a lot of time in nature, and you spent a lot of time, like you were in Orono for a long time, and you live in a cool part of Hamilton now, and you have all these like summer adventures up at Manitoulin Island stuff. Where did the birding thing come from? And at first, was it therapeutic so that you could like shed all the nasty, evil corporate stuff off your body?
That's funny. No, yeah, the birding thing came when I was really young. I was a birder when you knew me before, when I was younger, but
Really?
It was not, yeah, but I was very quiet about it.
Were you too embarrassed to tell us so that you were a birder?
Maybe a little bit, like it was kind of.
Can I suggest that it's because of the word birder?
Can I suggest that it's because of the word bird watcher and all the negative well,
Yeah.
all the stereotypical shit that goes with that.
What's the Latin name for bird? Let's change this right now.
Aves, Aves.
There it is. I'm an Avis watcher. Why? What the fuck?
I'm an Aver.
Yeah, that's
There's
right.
actually a punk band in Coburg called Aves. They're
course
good
there
guys.
is.
Yeah, I like them. They're funny. They do like sort of like I don't know if it's insulting to them to say bubblegum punk, but it's sort of like Green Day type.
Yeah,
Punk,
that's pretty pop punk.
Yeah, pop punk, but like they're really good guys. The music is fun. They literally sing about birds. Like they talk about cardinals and how red they are. They got a song about how red cardinals are.
That's
Great.
the thing about birds. So like, listen, I know I want you to talk about it a little bit, but just to let you know, the caricature in my mind of a birder is often that like how they're like the stamp collectors of the nature interest portfolio. You know, like they know so much, they could talk to you about, and even the ones that will say they know very little compared to their colleagues or their peers in the birding communities, they still know a billion times more than everyone else, and so it feels like it's weird. It's like you know, like the snooty record store guy, and then he realizes he's met his man. The customer comes in, he's like, actually, that was 1968, and the studio was in Tennessee. They knew, fuck, right? They have to like make way for the guy who's smarter than them in music. But birding is a really tell us how you got really into it. Then I guess you know, in the last 10 years or so, because I thought it kind of like reached a like you really kind of put the foot on the gas as far as that part of your life goes. Yeah,
I really did. And again, here I am going back to my lovely wife, Rachel. She bought me one year for my 30th birthday. Yeah, your sister and I were already split up, and Rachel and I were together. I don't know that we were married yet, but we had bought a house in Parkdale. And for my 30th birthday, she gave me, or for Christmas when I was 30, I can't remember 100%. I get sieve memory. But
okay.
she bought me a book about cataloging your bird sightings when I was 30. And so I
She's fucking smart too, eh? Jesus
oh,
Christ.
way too smart. I'm out of my depth. And
Yeah, punching above your weight class for sure. Go ahead.
oh yeah, absolutely. She bought me this book and said, "I know you love it. Why don't you spend more time doing it?" And so I made this decision that I was going to like erase my life list of every bird that I'd seen, because I've been birding since I was 11 with my dad. He got me into it. So I just decided to start over, and I just started birding at that point. And you're right. Like what I did was I hit the gas like hardcore.
Yeah.
And
you made these two worlds collide. You know, like that trailer, which I played at the outset, was, you know, is you. Tell us. I won't do it justice. Tell us the sort of like vibe of the story of the. So there, I have the graphic here. I think of the movie that came out. I think it was, I don't know, 5 years or something, or maybe less than that, before you came up with the concept for punk rock big year, and that was this movie, and it's called The Big Year. I'm sure it's the funniest movie ever because Jack Black is in it. You know, so
you would think, but it's not his best work. It's not.
Who cast this? Look at that cast.
Oh, okay.
Steve Martin, Jack Black, and Owen Wilson. Like, I can't imagine chemistry happen on that set. Okay, go ahead.
It was not a great movie. I'll be honest. It wasn't a great movie, but I don't. Obviously, those three actors are exceedingly capable of doing great, funny things. It just didn't. It just was no chemistry. Now, I read the book way before that movie was made. The book, The Big Year, I would recommend it to anybody to read, bird interested or not. It is about obsession. It is about being the best. It is competitive. It's just a really good book. It's written by a guy named Umbasmic or something like that. I can't remember the guy's exact name. But I know that the real man who plays like that Jack Black plays.
Okay.
I haven't seen him in years because of COVID, but
is he watching his cholesterol? The guy that you know?
I'm not sure. I don't know, but Jack was actually really well cast. Like Jack Black was really well cast to play him, because he is like if you know the story of this guy, he was working on the Y2K bug when he was doing his big year, and the thing that was so great about that character was that The other two guys were wealthy. The other two guys are rich people. And wealthy people can bird easier than non-wealthy people, right? Because they can hop on a flight and go to Alaska over the weekend and come back, right? But this guy wasn't like that. He didn't have as much financial, freedom, and he did this big year and was competing with two of the best birders in North America. Well, most accomplished listers, I'll call him that. And he he was punching way above his weight. Like he kept up with them.
Wait, there's like an official organized contest? It's not just people doing their own thing?
No, it is people doing their own thing, but it is very like we all watch it. There was a young boy named Kaya Jasper that, it's Kaya Jasper. I think you pronounce it Kaya. He just did a big year just in Ontario this year, and he myrtleized the record. Like this young fellow, he just destroyed the record. It was amazing to watch him do it. And
what was it? Okay, no, wait, hold on. Let's zone in on that. What was amazing about watching him do it? Like what like, oh wow, look at that form, the way he and then turn.
No, not at all that. I've seen him sprint before for a bird. Like running. So one particular day near the end of his big year. So the way a big year works is you spend 1 year, you define a geographical area. His was Ontario, as was mine. He saw 2.5 times the amount of birds I did. But so you set this geographical area and you spend 365 days, 1 calendar year, seeing as many species as humanly possible in that area. So one day I went to look at a very special owl that was roosting in a certain place that usually gets owls in the winter, not too far from Hamilton. And he was there, and he was just birding around for other things. And I walked down to the lake, and there was a bunch of other people at the lake, just, peers and friends and whatnot. They were just there because it was a beautiful day. And this bird flies past, and it's like more of an eastern bird. It's called the northern gannet. And it's people that don't know birds would say, oh, so a seagull with a weirdly thick bill. Well, they'd probably say beak. And It was just really cool. And I texted him, because we're all on Discord like a bunch of nerds. And so I texted him and said, and I knew he needed a northern gannet because I'd asked him 15 minutes earlier. My buddy Andrew and I asked him. And so I texted him northern gannet at the lake. And then like 2 minutes later, this young man, fully out of breath, is sprinting across a field and running up the hill. And he got it.
Is that a technique? Like,
No, when you get to that level, right? Like he was, when I say it was amazing to watch, for me, it was about, I just love to see people so dedicated to something. So dedicated, right? Like that guy, if something showed up in Rainy River, he would like get in a car and drive to Rainy River, which is like next to Manitoba, if anybody doesn't know, and then come back, like go there for like 1 day, see what he needed to see, and then drive back again.
Is there like a tipping point among the bird watching community where it becomes less about the bird and more about the notch, and you got to be careful that you don't go too notch about the species of birds itself? Does it feel like are there collectors versus passionate people? I guess my question is.
Yeah, there's both. Like, I mean, with anything, there's both extremes, right? For me, I did a big year just to try and change people's perspective on what a birder looked like. And so I did it in a way that was catchy, right? Had a hook. I was like going to tattoo the Latin name of every species I saw on my body, which I did do. So
show that again, your forearm. So that is all the Latin names of the 200, what was it, 234?
234 of them.
And is it like all over your body or just like on your arms or?
Yeah, it's all over my body. I got.
Let me ask you this. Did you put one on your bird?
I did not.
Okay.
However, I was going to put one on the inside of my lip, but I just never got around to it. It was the rarest one I saw. I was just going to write it inside my lip. It would have been
there's a movie. It's a John Hughes movie where someone goes like that and it says something. I can't remember what it says.
I think it says "I love you."
Yeah,
something
or
like that.
Blowjobs or fun or something. I can't remember what it says.
Something like that.
That's
right.
Right.
No, I think that the "I love you" thing I'm thinking of is in Indiana Jones. when he's teaching in the class and the girl does a slow blink and it says "I love you" on her eyelids.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. It's funny how pop culture really poisons our brains, eh?
Yeah.
You know that I've been interviewing a lot of cult people over the last year, people who have escaped this particular cult, and I've been hanging around one quite a bit named Richard Marsh, who they tried to kidnap him, and he blew the whistle on this whole fraud in the UK. And anyways, I notice how my pop references because he's like, I don't understand what that means. And it'll be like a Star Wars reference. And I'm be like, like Darth Vader. He's like, I don't know who Mr. Darth Vader is. I have no, and I'm just like, this is
What an odd
crazy.
name.
But he's like a blank slate. And he was up here. We had a working weekend and we didn't get around to doing it, but he's never seen Goodfellas. Right?
Oh my goodness.
Like, do you know what that's like? Contact high you get from being with someone who hasn't experienced something that you've experienced like 1,000 times? I love that. I don't know what that's called. If there's probably a German name for it.
Yeah, likely. It's sort of it's the opposite of Schadenfreude.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've had. So I can like riff on that a little bit and say I've seen probably like 99% of the species you can see in Canada and on land in Canada. I don't do pelagic trips out in the ocean because I've got vertigo issues, and I just don't. I don't see the point of going out for 4 or 5 hours on a boat, vomiting for all of those hours with the odd look at a bird here and there.
Now you remind me of this guy. I'm allergic to grass and water. I don't want to be outside all the time.
Yeah, it's amazing. I know. I'm a little bit.
Would it be controversial if a birder did a big year, and his thing was to see how many birds he could eat? How many different birds he could eat?
That'd be pretty controversial. I mean, as long as they were.
It's just always chickens.
Yeah,
he's got one.
I mean,
I got one.
I've eaten some wild birds before. Like I'm not a hunter, but I'm a hunting advocate. I like hunters are more. They do more for conservation than birders have done ever for conservation. And
yeah, people don't understand that because it's such a weird like juxtaposition or whatever. Like you're like, oh, so killing it for sport is better for animals? It's like it's like the right wing that are like, it snowed in July. Climate change is not real. It's a hoax. It's just like, no, that's actually proof that it probably is real.
It's like climate change, ding dong. It's like we changed the name for a reason.
Climate's always changing. Yeah, I know. But we've detonated like thousands of nuclear bombs. Anyways, never mind.
For that, I mean, I'm. They buy massive chunks of land and they are undisturbed because they want to go there and shoot those birds, and I got no problem with that. I'll eat them.
Only if they eat them. Yeah, if they eat them.
And generally they do. I've eaten roadkill several times.
What kind of roadkill have you eaten, Paul RISS?
Well, one
and was Rachel there to not? And where was Rachel? And how did she take the news?
I was with her dad. We're driving along. Yeah. Well, he lived up north, like real north, like north of Thunder Bay for a very long time.
Have you seen the Jeffrey Dahmer series?
I have. Yeah. Actually, I didn't watch that. For a lot of reasons, but we were driving down the road one day, up in the middle of nowhere, and there was a grouse that was on the ground. What people often will call a partridge. It's actually a ruffed grouse, is what its real name is. It was on the road side, and we stopped because it looked like it was in good shape, and we got out and picked it up and was like, "Oh, this is still warm. I bet you that car that just was going the other way hit it." And he was like, "Oh, cool!" And he literally on the spot just fucking turned it inside out, ripped its skin and feathers off, threw that in the ditch. He's like, "That'll compost." And then we went home. We ate it. and
how long was he touring with the Grateful?
And he's got a massive beard too.
I don't know. I'm just guessing from the whole. Like when some, how some people are just like what you just described. Oh, and he just in like 2.4 seconds decided to turn a bird inside out and clean it on the spot. Yeah, and just like and probably look at you like what.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have a problem with it because I was like, cool, I'm going to get grouse for dinner. This stuff's delicious. And I mean, better than
I'd be the hypocrite who was like, oh my god, I can't believe I just saw that. Of course I'll have a leg.
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly. And really, there's not much on the legs though. Like it's all breast. That's what you eat on them.
Have you ever met anyone that's been able to make an edible meal out of wild turkey in this province?
I'm not aware of it. No,
Yeah.
I've never eaten a wild turkey.
Oh, I've been around about 5 or 6 attempts of people. Oh, no, I swear, no, trust me, this is so like no, it isn't. It's like artificial processed duck meat that's still really tough and nasty. it's awful.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't eaten wild turkey. I've eaten Canada goose. I've eaten snow goose. I've eaten grouse.
If people find out that you can eat Canada geese, they're just gonna do it out of spite because everyone hates them.
Yeah, man, delicious cobra chickens.
So funny.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, there's enough Canada geese that we could eat a few, and the population would be just fine.
Yeah. Okay. I want to get to some of your art now too, because I always sort of knew that's what I knew you as first. I didn't know you as a graphic designer in the advertising industry. I knew you as an artist. You used to do these. The one painting that stands out, and from back in the day was you painted this thing for my sister, and it was like I think it was a hand holding a realistic bloody heart, and you were like, I just remember I give you my heart, but then I'd be dead.
I used to love your sister.
No, but that was kind of like what I liked about you was just like that off, that's I never seen anything like that. But I grew up in Whitby.
Yeah.
The most creative thing I ever saw was the way Tanky pitched,
Yeah.
Honestly, until like I had in looking back at my teenage years until like 97 or 98 even or something like that, I don't think I even had like a deep conversation with anybody. And by the way, I have a theory. You want to hear my theory on all this shit?
Yeah.
Generation X was the first generation to grow up where they had to invent a culture from scratch. Because our parents, my parents in particular, who were Dutch and Italian and grew up in Dutch Italian households, passed down exactly nothing to our house in Whitby. So we didn't have a culture. So our culture becomes video games and McCain frozen French fries and road hockey maybe.
Don't forget
and
the
music.
The two that come in the little plastic round.
Like the pizza pops or whatever the fuck?
No, like the two little round pizzas, and they were frozen. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I used to microwave those like an idiot. But anyways, the point is that like people don't look at it like that, but I really believe that. Like I had a couple friends, anecdotal friends, where you go to their house. Like one guy was Filipino, and you walk in, you're just like, oh, I know that fucking Filipino must cooking something dope in that kitchen right now. I fucking know it, and it was a departure from white kids' house.
Yeah.
And there was a couple Italian kids that were all right, but for art, we were all like cultureless. And I'm not trying to sound all like sad and depressed about it, like a grunge song or something, but it's true. Like you can't point to anything. Our culture was Sears, right?
Yeah,
Really
I saw some woman talking about why about Gen Xers and things like that, and she had talked about it like, well, we raised ourselves because it was like, I consider my kids all the time when I think about like what I'm gonna do on the weekend or where I'm gonna go. Like I think about, and it's not that I didn't have loving parents. I had extremely loving and supportive parents. However, if we were going to Aurora on a Saturday, it's not like I had a choice. Or
No, right?
I never got asked, what do you want for dinner? It was more like the food was put in front of me and you eat it. Or your father, who survived Nazi Germany,
That's right.
gets mad at you for wasting food. He's like, you can't not eat that because do you have any idea what it's? Because he went like 6 weeks one time. He went 6 weeks and ate nothing but stolen raw eggs right from under chickens. And
Let's talk. Yeah, your dad, and so your dad had like the street cred to be able to be like, oh, I'm sorry, did you want me to ask you twice to get in the fucking car?
yeah, oh my God, man! If I ever said to my dad, "I'm starving," he would he wouldn't slap me, but in his mind, he was hitting me with a baseball bat. I'm sure because he knew what it was like to be starving.
Yeah,
and that's
a clear exaggeration, Paul. Can we tell your dad's story because I love it. I've told that story. I wonder how much I have wrong, but I've told that story so many times. It's one of the greatest party stories ever. It really is.
I,
But it's your dad. I'll give you the choice if you want to tell the story, because I find it amazing. I was trying to play about it for a while, called Road Back to Berlin. It's like, if it's just generic enough, the title, maybe they'll like it.
yeah,
But go ahead, please. Yeah.
I wish I could get that turned into a documentary, or whatever. But
No,
like
the English Patient, only not excruciatingly boring. You know, like
yeah, his life has been super, super interesting. My dad is an unbelievable human being, and I don't know. Maybe everybody thinks that about their dad, or maybe not. I don't know. But when he was young, he's German. I'm first generation born in Canada, so he was born in Germany and lived there during the Second World War. And you know, I have so many stories from him, but this particular one. So he was, you know, at a certain age, the kids were taken away from their families, the German children, because they were being moved for their safety to a certain place. Basically, it was like they were.
it was like Vito Corleone was the state, and he was giving you an offer, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah.
So he was made, like, he was being groomed to get dropped into the Hitler Youth group, right? Because even though nobody knew his mom was Jewish, because that was just a hidden thing, right? Like, they just hid that fact for survival.
Oh, I don't think of that caveat.
Yeah, her last name is Zolomon. She wasn't practicing,
wow.
but if your last name was Zolomon in Nazi Germany, you didn't do well, right?
No.
So they hid that fact. We only have 2 paintings that were done by her family left. Everything else was just gotten rid of. So it couldn't be found. They hid those well enough that they could keep them. But so they take the kids away, right? Him and his sister were both taken away. She was taken away to where the girls go. He was taken where the boys go.
And that was in Prague, right? Where their Hitler Youth camp was, wasn't it?
Well, that's where they took them to. So they took them
Okay.
down to Prague, yeah. And they were just marching them from place to place. And it was basically like he was a 14-year-old in boot camp, is the way I would describe it. No.
One thing your dad said to me about that marching that really stuck with me was that because the boys and the girls didn't interact. And so I don't know how frequent it was, but once a day, once a week, whenever it was, when they were marching through the town square, they had a brief moment where their eyes would dart and they catch each other's eyes as they marched like away from one another.
Yeah, they marched.
And that was
kind of
like,
went like this, right? Like it's almost ships passing in the night kind of.
That's right. Yeah,
But,
which by the way is incredibly sad and confusing if you're in that situation.
and
right?
you're 14 years old.
Yeah, and you got to look out for your little sister, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. It was his big sister. His sister was older, but
okay.
but still, like he said, in that moment, he said we were so careful not to pay too much attention to each other because we just didn't want people to know that we knew each other.
Yeah.
So just like that is powerful. Like that is it's heartbreaking. And so when one night, when like they would sleep in the weirdest places, right? Because they were just a troop of kids walking down the road, and one night they stayed at a farm. They would just go to the farmer and say, "Hey, we got a troop of young kids, and we're gonna stay in your barn. All the kids are gonna sleep in the barn." So the kids just slept on the ground in the barn, right? And in the middle of the night,
was that occupying class? Like, what was that?
yeah.
What were they doing?
Yeah. Well, they were getting.
I didn't realize they didn't have barracks. I imagine like the Hitler Youth camp with barracks for boys and barracks for girls.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and imagine they would have eventually gotten there once he was put into Hitler Youth, because he wasn't quite old enough, right? So they would march them around, and the one night that they stayed in this thing, it's not like, you know, they didn't go to the farmer and say, "Hey, do you mind if they were just like, hey, these these kids are going to sleep here tonight in your barn." So they're sleeping in the barn, and my dad has always been a little bit of a, like, maybe he was a bit of a punk, you know, he's a bit of a rebel, and he had this idea that they would escape, and he managed to talk a few other guys into escaping, a few other young men that he was with. And they were going to.
And this was also late in the war, though, too, right?
Yes,
like,
it was. Yes.
Was your dad? I remember your dad telling me that there were some like Like you could tell that the Allies were doing well, and German, and like there were less German soldiers around in that area than
Yeah.
before. And I think I remember him saying at the time they decided to escape, there was like one guard left or something like that. Like
Yeah. There was
Yeah.
not as many soldiers left, but what Hitler ended up doing was he was like taking 14-year-old kids and going, take this gun, go to the front, and just basically throwing humans at the problem that he was having. And so my dad was like, I want to be with my mom and dad, like any 14-year-old would do. And
Yeah.
he decided that he was going to just leave. And the people he talked into it were like, I don't know, man, Rudy, this seems like an insane idea. Well, back then they would have probably called him Carl. And so they
random.
well, his name,
Rudy, this is a really bad idea.
Yeah.
Also, his nickname is Carl.
No, his
just
real
like-
name is Carl. His full name is
okay.
Carl Otto Rudolf RISS. So, but he went by Rudy when he came to Canada. So what they would do is they would like be sleeping in the thing, and then in the middle of the night, I guess soldiers are like the guards and whatnot are outside, probably I would imagine drinking, playing cards,
Smoking and laughing about their hatred of Jews, probably.
Yeah,
like
probably shit like that.
Yeah.
So he and his buddies in the middle of the night, they climbed up into the rafters of this old barn, and they laid down as straight as they could and as silently as they could on the 12 by 12 beams that were going across the top. And they just laid there. And then the next morning because every morning they do roll call, and they didn't answer. And so they were labeled as deserters. And the company, the troop, had to move on. And I don't know if they left a soldier behind to wait for them to see if they'd whatever, but they assumed that they were deserters. It was in 45, so it was like getting near the very end of the war, right?
Yeah.
And they stayed up there. They stayed up there that whole day and for the next night. And then the next...
You got to be careful when you lie in those beams near the roof, because a lot of those people end up as addicts. That was your joke of the evening, brought to you by addicts. Okay, go ahead.
So he stayed up there for I think the night that he climbed up, and then the next day, and then the next night, and then the next day, and then the next night when no soldiers were around, they left. Just imagine.
You could have just said 3.
Yeah, I suppose so, but it's more dramatic the other way.
I thought you were broken.
Storyteller, man.
Did he have a stroke? And then the next day, and then the next day. Oh my God! I don't know. We said on a podcast recently that the only way to really explain the assassination of JFK with his head going back and to the left is that he had one last Tourette's symptom before he died.
Oh,
fuck!
and moved into the bullet.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's so awful.
Thank you, Ryan Lindley, for the book. I hope I didn't bastardize it too bad. But sorry, go on. But he started off in Prague-ish when he escaped.
They were right around Prague, and then he walked.
He walked to fucking Berlin.
He walked to fucking Berlin from Prague.
That's why I came up with the title "Road Back to Berlin," which is generic as fuck.
Tattooed. That's you can't see it, but it's basically one time I tattooed the shape of Berlin, and I put the path that he walked. I tattooed that on my arm as a little way to commemorate the thing that he went through. And so
when he tells this story, it's like he's there. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
But when they walk back into Berlin and when they get there and what they see and
yeah, and the way it's rubble everywhere, and they get to this thing, and then this is so insane to me that as they're walking, they're getting his house was the furthest, I guess. It must be by the stories that I've heard from him. So you walk, and then one kid turns down a road, and he's gone. Never saw that kid again. And then they get further, and then another one goes down another road, and another one, and then until he gets to his place, and never, ever saw those people again. Never, never, never.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. And yeah,
6 weeks, man, 6 weeks, and they ate
they robbed root cellars and stuff, right?
Yeah.
They took modest food. He made a point to mention, your dad is such a great storyteller, by the way. I don't know if he's done. Yeah, I don't know if he's done writing or whatever, but he knows the right formula to get you excited.
He never finished high school because of the war.
I love it. I love it. I'm a high school graduate, and I am not as smart as your dad. You know, um, but he's like, but he's me. He's like, because he did mention the egg thing, and then he also mentioned salami and cheese specifically, right?
Oh
Like
yeah,
that he would get from Rosa. And then when he got back to Berlin, he said that when he turned onto his street, most of the houses were pretty dilapidated, but his looked pretty good. And when they got back, they walked originally to the backyard, or at first to the back area or whatever. And they were basically in the middle of a very small, modest celebration of the sister's birthday, and they were eating salami and cheese,
yes.
which is what sustained their lives as they walked from Prague to Berlin.
Yeah,
you know?
so they were eating. He arrived on June 1st, 1945, which was his sister's birthday, and they were having a little thing, and there was cheese and bread, and he had stolen and not even told the guys he was with because he wanted it for his family when he got home. He had stolen a salami, like a wrapped salami. He never ate it. He could have ate it while he was on the thing. He didn't eat it. Instead,
he wasn't Italian.
Like poking holes in eggs and just sucking the raw egg out with his like that's what he ate most of the time. And also he said there were certain kind of sticks. He mentioned a certain kind of tree that when you were really hungry, if you chewed on it, it created saliva and that went down your throat, and then it kind of satiated you a little bit. Like, oh, so you ate stick. Amazing.
Like bark.
Yeah, like bark and like the shoots, right? Like the young shoots on the thing. And it was
I would have come in handy during that trip. I would have come in. I was a good. And when push came to shove, and I had no choice, and I had to go to the store and shoplift a meal, or else I would go hungry. I realized that you don't have to shoplift really cheap shit.
No, you can shoplift a
I always ate like a king. Whenever I had no money, I would like, James, where'd you get all those T-bones? Oh, I'm broke, so I had to go to the grocery store and get my meal in a nefarious way. And I didn't steal the pan. I didn't steal the fast fry. Okay, what do you want? It's the one. It's the one like quality. It's the only thing that you can be proud of yourself, as you feel shame for stealing, is that, well, at least I gave myself something nice.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was like, and then the first thing that they did, I like the way he tells it, before a hug from his parents that he hasn't seen for so long, and he just spent 6 weeks walking home to get to them. The first thing his father did was stand him in the middle of the yard, strip him naked, because he had fleas and he had lice and he had like bugs all like, because like that there's no, you don't get clean when you're walking for 6 weeks, and
you smell like lamb, which just makes you more hungry.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And he just hosed him down with cold water and like scrubbed him with a rough brush and like cleaned him in that moment. That's
such a 40s dad thing to do.
Isn't it?
I'm glad you're alive. Hold still.
Hold still. I'm gonna scrub you with this horsehair brush. Yeah. That was just like, and my dad has such amazing stories. That's just one of them. That's just one. There's details throughout. One, I should say, because I think is so cool. When he was traveling, they one time they were so desperate they knocked on a door and were going to ask for food, and the family brought them inside and fed them stew. Like they had a meal, like a real meal.
Oh wow!
It must have been really special. And he always says, he never really talks about the food that he ate in that moment or what, like how great it was. He doesn't really ever talk about that. He talks about the table that the man made for his family. This farmer made a table, and it was a piece of wood that was like 8 inches thick and the size of a family table. And the bowls were carved right out of the wood, so that just had these divots in it. And they just scooped the stew into the divots, and they ate out of the divots in the wood.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Pretty neat, eh? Like just
such a different world back then. Like,
oh God. That just I often think about what he, like, he's 90. He's in his words, he's 90 fucking 2 now. He's gonna be 90 fucking 3 in August. And he's still in quite great shape. Still walks up and down the stairs. Goes, walks to the coffee shop, all that kind of stuff. But like he, oh Jesus, I just lost my train of thought. Help me out.
He's 92.
He's not,
He's 92. He's doing well. He walks upstairs. Good stories.
yeah, he does have great stuff. Oh God, I can't believe that happened. I should
Yeah.
have had less whiskey, maybe.
Oh my God, was that a working example of what you were going to say about his current mental condition?
Actually, maybe it's that's the harbinger right there, right?
Wow, that's foreshadowing, but not the kind you want.
No,
man.
I don't want it. No. So he's been diagnosed with like some early onset dementia at 92. Like it just happened at 91 and a half when we started noticing he was kind of forgetting things a little bit. But the weird thing is if you called him right now, he would tell you that story I told you in his fashion. Jesus, you should get him on here. Oh my God.
Oh my God, I would totally get him on. Yeah, I would honestly.
Yeah, we could maybe do it. Oh, I would.
Yeah.
That would. And you record it, right? So I would have that. Oh my God, I'm gonna start crying.
Yeah, I would only charge you like $19.95 for a copy of that, Paul. Like seriously.
I'd pay anything for
Just-
that. So yeah, maybe we should talk about that. Maybe we'll do that.
yeah,
Get him and Julie Black on the same show. That would be really interesting.
that would be awesome. I would totally be accused of trying to give an old man a last controversial wish or something like that. Julie Black, this is a dirty old man.
Well, so he's like forgetting some things, but if you asked him about this story that I just told, he would tell you that story without any mistakes, no mistakes. He doesn't
Yeah.
seem to forget things from long ago. He knows who I am. He asks how Shepard and Georgia, my children, are doing, all that stuff. But
He's
like,
some reason, like from what I remember your dad, and I do remember him well, I think, but I could totally be wrong about what I'm about to say. But I kind of feel like he's the type of dude where at the very beginning of a health problem like that, he might insert his condition in jokes here and there.
all the time.
Yeah,
The
I
longest
thought your
time,
name
my mom was like,
Met-
I think he's faking
Yeah.
it, Paul. I think he's fucking
Yeah,
with me.
with your mom. He's just role playing. I got another one in before we go.
Yeah.
No, your name is Carol. Fine, it's Carol.
Yeah, he does. Like in the very beginning, seriously, that's how it started for my mom. She was like, I don't know. He says he doesn't remember that we went to this place yesterday, but I seriously, I think he's fucking with me because he's been so sharp for so long, and it's like it was rather sudden, right? But
Yeah.
I'll watch a TV show with him. Like I went to his place to watch the World Cup with him because we both like watch soccer, and why not hang out with him for like 10 days and watch the whole thing together?
Despite the fact that you just put the accent on world instead of cup, I'll let that slide. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Big fan of soccer.
Cup, yeah. And so we like, it was amazing, but he wouldn't remember one match to the next. Like we'd watch a match, when they're like 3 in a day, you'd watch one at 5 and at 11 and then at 6 or whatever it was because it was happening in Qatar. So he would not remember who won. I'd have to keep reminding him of that. So new things don't stick, but old
Right,
things
okay.
are all still there. Now, maybe because I'm a weirdo, or maybe because I'm fascinated a little bit, morbidly fascinated with how that can happen, I will take him bird watching because he got me into it. So I still take him bird watching. So we went bird watching the last time I was at his place, and I specifically took him to see some stormwater ponds that I knew had like 5,000 snow geese on them, and that's like a kerfuffle. It's like a cacophony of sound, and all this honking, and it's really loud, and it's very memorable. So I went and I took him there, and he was like, "Oh my God, this is so cool! I'm so blown away by what I'm looking at right now." And then I took him to see an owl that I knew of that was hiding out in a tree. And again, it was like, oh my goodness, it's so beautiful. A little red screech owl is so lovely, and all this kind of stuff. And then I took him to see a gull, like a specific species of gull, which looks like every other gull, except one little thing about it that makes it a special thing that's from Siberia or some shit. And birders all get excited about it. I don't get as excited about that.
The Canada 1976 Expo stamp has a different font.
Yeah,
Like that's one of those
yeah,
things.
yeah,
right?
exactly. It's that kind of a situation. And then, that's a crescent-colored white tip to the wings. It's like, so we get back home and we have dinner, and then I just like ask him nonchalantly, so do you know where we went today? And he was like, well, we went to look at birds, right? I was like, yeah, yeah, we totally went and look at birds. Do you remember what we saw? Tell me what we saw. And he said, well, we saw the pond with all the geese. That was amazing. And then he would tell my mom about that story because it would like trigger all this stuff
Right.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
it was like more remarkable. So he remembered. And then I said, what else? And he's like, oh, that little owl where you showed that you lowered your scope to the ground, you let that little boy look through it, and his parents were so happy that
He's so good at detail. He was always really good at details.
yeah,
Like
man,
that's
like,
what his stories were really cool. Like he would pause for a moment and talk about like, like the I'm just making this off the top of my head, but he's one of those guys that like when he's talking about him and his sister walking home from Prague to Berlin, that he would stop and be like, I remember walking for about a day and all we could smell was hickory or something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and all of a sudden you're like, this is why it's a movie,
yeah,
right?
yeah, I know.
You know?
And then I said, anything else? And he's like, not that I remember. I said, you remember the gull? He's like, I don't remember that. So the gull was super far away.
Say things like, try to get him to say things, man. Just like so he can rely on the jokes. Maybe the jokes will sustain him longer.
Yeah,
I don't know.
could
I'm
be.
just kidding. I'm just kidding. It's an interesting and sad kind of thing. I was telling you earlier today also that I because I've been working at a library part time for like 6 years,
Yeah.
and like 10% of the patrons that come there are like 60% are seniors, and 10% of those are have some type of dementia.
Yeah.
And so I've had this sort of front row seat of what it's like. And some people manage it better than others. Some people I have the same conversation 6 times in 5 minutes.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
but I have to joke with them, right? And so she's like, the British mystery author, and I know who she's talking about, and I'm just like, James Bond, and she's like, no, you, right? And like, Agatha Christie, she's like, yes, and I'm like, how about that one in your hand? She's like, and then like the next time she comes and she can't cross the street, and so like I have to pretend that like I'm not really helping her, that like my shoes are bad for the ice and I might slip. Can she help me cross the street, right? And it's weird because I've watched them fade away, and then I'm just like putting myself in the family's position, and it's like, and they all kind of say the same thing. They all kind of say you take what you get, and you try to love as much as you can that's familiar, and you realize that that they're going, and they almost think it's almost like a relief sometimes when they go, because
Yeah.
now they don't have to be confused, and now and it's a really profound place to be. It must be interesting with your dad because he's such a great communicator, like.
Yeah. Yeah. It is really interesting. And I'm like, I'm sad about it. There's no doubt. I'm really sad about the fact that it's happening. And I'm more worried about my mom than my dad because my mom is 21 years younger than my dad. Woo woo, good guy.
Yeah, well done, Dad. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that.
Yeah.
Now he's a stud to top it all off.
Yeah,
Jesus.
I know. And wait till you find out. I should have sent you that picture. I don't know. Maybe I can find it when we're on the call. But he also was one of the best sharpshooters in all of North America, like rifle, long range rifle, moving target.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't know. Wow.
Yeah. Well, like when the whole I don't know if I should say this on the
You're lucky he didn't steal Rachel from you. That he's so cool.
Oh yeah, he's like the coolest guy. Every year on his birthday, I post this picture of him that was in the newspaper when I was a kid, and it's him with his get up and his like long range scope rifle and everything. And I always have to say the same thing. I am never going to be as cool as my father. I am never going to be as cool as my father, and I'm okay with that. I've settled with it. It's not going to happen.
You're so fortunate, and I mean that. Like I'm so happy for you. Like if you look at if I look at all the people that I grew up with, all the ones that have bad lives had bad fathers. Every single one of them. Either fathers weren't there or they were bad, and it's such a it's that's why it's something I didn't really have. That like I didn't really. My dad was like he said like 6 words in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
something like that, right?
Yeah, he was
It's almost like he
reserved
lost
when
the
I knew him.
contest. What's that?
He was pretty reserved when I knew him. He didn't say a whole lot to me either.
He talking was like shoving a cheese grater up your ass. That's how he felt about talking. If If there was no one home and he wanted a pizza, he wouldn't order it. You know?
Pray for one.
Yeah. But anyways, your dad, obviously was a really great dad. And I think that maybe that must be cushioning the blow for all of you
Yeah,
in a way.
I think it is. Yeah, I mean, my sister's a little closer. I call him every week, so we talk quite regularly. He doesn't forget the kids. He doesn't forget me. He always says, "Oh my goodness, Paul, it was so nice to hear your voice. I always love talking to you." And yeah, I just let him go. I'll ask a thing and just let him go, and I'll just listen to it. His voice is very soothing to me now
Yeah.
as an adult.
No, it totally is.
You know, as a youngster, it was that cheese grater in the ass thing, but like now, it's like one of
I
the
tried to be eloquent. I'm sorry.
yeah, it's one of
That's
the
all I had.
it's one of the most soothing sounds I have is just hearing him talk to me. So I really, really love that, and I know this. I hope like people sometimes maybe think this is a little callous, but you know, there's lots of people that I know whose family members have had dementia, and it started at 70 and they died at 80, and they didn't even know who their kids were
Yeah.
last 7 years of it. And you know, when you begin to get the earliest stages of that at 92, like I mean, under remarkable circumstances, he'll be here till 100. But I don't think that's the case. Like, if I have to be honest with myself, I think I've probably got maybe 4 or 5 more years with him. And
Yeah.
as much as that, sorry, it's like that's obviously emotional.
Yeah.
As much as that uh, hurts me, it's gonna be better for him because he'll never. I don't think he'll be around alive long enough to get to the point where he's nonstop confused and just like like getting violent with my mom or any of that kind of shit. It's like that's not gonna. We're probably not gonna get there. So I feel like kind of blessed for that reason.
Totally. Your dad is a lot better man than I am because if I found out that I had early onset dementia, I would just immediately start saying cunt as often as I wanted.
Well, he has said like I remember. I remember one time we're up. This was last summer, actually. So he for his 90s. So we go up to Manitoulin Island for June and July and August if we can. Like we just stay up there. I built a cabin up there and we just stay up there. And okay. And I just think that with that we're out there and he will do things like that where I go, oh, I wonder if that's like, is he just freer with being an asshole? But some man was sleeping in a chair at a yard sale, and that guy got up and walked towards the house, and my dad just like hits me in the arm, just like does one of these and goes, that man shit himself. It's all over his fucking pants. And too loud, for sure, too loud. And
Yeah.
that guy knew about it and was embarrassed and was going to deal with it. And then he looked at me and he goes, and I bet you he's 25 years younger than me.
and the guy with the shitty pants is like, I'm still right here, guys.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I'm still
and I'm
fucking
like,
here.
Dad, so you telling me in your old age you've never shit yourself? And he's like, not in public.
Man's got a point. You can't trust a fart in public. That's true. That's a rule. Yeah,
Well,
it's definitely a rule.
oh my God, I was when I was at their house. This will be real quick. When I was at their house, I was working. I was on a call, like a Zoom call with clients and stuff. And my dad was in the room with me, and I guess he farted. And to this day, this was months ago, but to this day, I think get some of my eye. I think they think it was me.
And you just took that for the team? I would never do that, even for my father.
No, I told them
Well,
my dad was sitting with me. So,
yeah.
but my
Your
mom-
dad can I can manipulate this whole situation. Let's see if I can do this, even though I'm going against the universe here, which is Rachel.
Sure.
I will definitely have your dad on, but Rachel has to come on the show and as well. Like not on the same show, but on a totally different one.
Yeah. You should talk to her about it. She might. I mean, she's
Okay, I'll try.
Yeah. Good luck.
Tell her I'll do whatever she says.
Yeah.
Just tell her to wear the Can she come in roller derby character?
Oh, she hasn't done roller derby in a while. Once she had injured herself once, and we were like, She kind of went, oh Jesus, I got to be careful now. I can't do this anymore because I got children I got to look after.
Yeah. She's the coolest chick in the game, as Jay-Z likes to say about Beyonce. But Rachel is one of the most amazing. Like, you really did well. And kids are awesome. I'm really happy that you could come and join us. Dude, we could probably talk forever. If you ever want to join me on a Casual Friday, because, you know, it's Casual Friday, let me know.
Yeah.
And I'll send you a link, and we'll kick it again there because, yeah, we could do this forever. It was really nice catching up. I haven't talked to you in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a really long while, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. Yeah, you're welcome back anytime, buddy. Say hi to the family.
Yeah.
Hi, Rachel.
No,
Can she hear me?
No, that's my daughter Georgia. She's just letting the dog out. So.
Oh, okay. Hi.
That's my creaky old door. You want to see my beautiful daughter for a second? She's
Sure.
the best, man. She's so.
I remember when she was a baby, so I'm going to feel really old as I see her. But yeah.
Hi,
Hi. How are you?
I'm good.
My sister's the reason you exist. Sorry, I don't know.
This is my ex-wife's brother. That's a perfect.
Well done.
That's a perfect 15-year-old. Reaction.
Well done. John Hughes wrote her dialogue. That was perfect. You know, it was well done.
Amazing.
All right, buddy. So yeah, we'll have the whole clan can come on. But yeah, we'll talk again soon. And thank you very much for coming to Blackballed. I can't say that when it's someone I know so well. So thank you for coming, buddy.
Yeah,
I appreciate
thank you. It was a real pleasure. Had a good time.
Awesome. Have a good night. That's Paul Riss. That was really nice reconnecting with him. He was in my life for like a decade, you know, and it's good to see that he's doing really well. It makes me happy. And I enjoyed talking about his dad. That was kind of a different show, and I'm kind of happy about that. So tomorrow is Casual Friday. Let me just take a look at the schedule here so I don't get any of this incorrect. First is Casual Friday on Friday. Then on the 7th, I'm still going to book a show for the 6th. I don't have it yet. We have mayoral candidate in Toronto, Rob Davis. And do you remember Queer as Folk? Hal Sparks is going to be on the show on Wednesday at 9 p.m. That's going to be dope. And then we have Michael Price, one of the main writers on The Simpsons, who's written, he actually corrected me the other day. He has been part of the writing team for hundreds of episodes. That could include things like script writing, things like that. But he's actually written like 40 episodes or something like that. My bad. He's only been involved in hundreds of episodes from a creative standpoint, but not necessarily. It was really a writer thing for him to just like distinguish that, and I get why he did it. But it's still like because he said it in a way that was almost like, you know, humble about it. Dude, you've been involved creatively in hundreds of Simpsons episodes. I can't wait to talk to him. And that's on March 13th. And until then, we'll see you next time on Blackballed.
Blackballed. Blackballed. Blackballed. Blackballed. Blackballed.